p.m. at a hotel in Holiday Inn Express, in Atlanta, Georgia. Like we learned it as we were traveling as a family, like and she loves it. She has online, now they're chatting during the class, and they're, like it's like a whole other dimension of learning, that we're all, so anyway, it was a little hard in the beginning, but now we feel so free.
That's great.
We're not tied to the system, and now we can book a tour and Gigi can see the Grand Canyon as part of homeschooling, it's a powerful thing, so anyway, I'm just trying to say that like there's this beautiful light, with all this stuff.
Yeah, well, that's great. Hey, if you just joined us, I'm Dale Doherty. I'm the publisher of Make Magazine and founder of Maker Faire. I'm here with the Make community team. We're at Family Maker Camp, and this is our Maker Parent Happy Hour. We're happy to be here for sure. And the thing we've already talked about is the playbook for Maker Camp. If you're a parent and you want some ideas, you want to know how to get started, you're looking for just how to think about engaging your kids and making, go to the MakerCamp website, makercamp.com. makercamp.com/playbook is the link that you'll need to get to the playbook, and check it out. It has some good ideas there. So I'm Dale Doherty. I'm joined by Mario, the Maker Magician, who just talked about his wonderful studio. He's with us on Mondays and Fridays, I believe it is.
Yep.
And for live sessions, we'll have other makers. Tomorrow we have John Collins, the paper airplane guy. I'm really excited by that. John, is a TV person by heart. He's worked for a San Francisco television station, and developed this on his end. He was at one of the first Maker Fairs, and he's been ever since. And I've seen him all around the world at Maker Fairs, taking his airplane projects and books around.
Yeah, isn't that amazing that someone can be master of a paper airplane?
Right.
Like,
he set a world record.
That's amazing. Like that's what Maker Faire taught me, like when I was like flunking out of school, that you can master a certain thing as so abstract as paper airplanes and become a leader. And anyway, it's just a beautiful thing. And he's awesome.
Yeah. Well, listen, I want to introduce our third person in the group tonight. That's Bridget Rigby. Bridget helped me, and she ran Maker Camp in 2017, but she's had many, many more important things that she's accomplished. And she's always has a wonderful enthusiasm for making and education. And she's even wearing a nice old Makey t-shirt from some year. But Bridget, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here. And I have gotten to be part of the Maker education movement in many places, from summer camps to museums like the Tech Museum and everything. But I will say there's a special spot in my heart for Make. So that was definitely one of the highlights of my career, not just something on the side, Dale.
Oh, that's great. But the interesting thing about making is it really needs to happen everywhere in our community, not just in school. It needs to happen at home. It can happen at community centers, boys and girls clubs, libraries. And so it's, you've been working in those outside of school spaces as well as the school space. And some of what we've seen over the years is a lot of the things kids do after school they really enjoy. And we see educators start to bring them in. And that's what we kind of want to encourage parents to do here, is don't just think of this as school time. Think of this as learning. Think of this as playing, and engage your kids that way. So Bridget, talk about some of the things that you've been involved in, and kind of give them a grounding a little bit in what Maker education is.
Sure. Well, Maker education is just all about, the Maker mindset is at the heart of it, but it's allowing kids to have the space to pursue their passions, to collaborate and come up with really cool creative ideas that they kind of figure out as they go. New design challenges present themselves as they go. They encounter spectacular failures along the way, which at first might feel like feels hard in your heart, but once you kind of realize that things don't go your way, you have this crazy cool new perspective you wouldn't have had before, and all of a sudden you start brainstorming at that time, the group, or if it's an individual project, comes up with like something that is so much cooler than what they ever thought they might innovate together to begin with. So I think learning to kind of trust that process and learning yourself that like when you need it at the moment, you'll be able to tap into that mindset and come up with an innovation that's both something that's good for the world, but also really playful and fun and just whimsical. So that's so much about maker education, is finding a way to express your unique personality to the world.
Yeah, actually, that's a really great point. Whimsical is a great word. And again, sometimes people look down on play and they think, well, that's not serious, right? You're not working. One of my favorite maker fairs is Tokyo, and I always think the Japanese at Maker Faire Tokyo are the most playful and the most serious players, right? They will all their robots have costumes, right? They're samurai robots or sumo robots. It's not just a robot. And so they take their play very seriously. I'll give you another example, one that I really liked. I saw an exhibit, and it's a mattress on the floor with a young man lying prone on the mattress, looking up at a screen that's mounted above him. Well, he had instrumented the mattress so that he could play video games in bed without a controller. Like he could lean to the right or lean to the left or hit the head, and his video game could play. I mean, he might be the laziest person in the world, but he might be one of the cleverest too. So I always like that. But we have an idea to share with you, and I want to throw it out and get Bridget to talk about it a little bit too, because I think she knows what this is. We want you to look around your house and create a box. Find a box and say, say to your kids, as a family project, let's fill that box with materials. Now, some people call it a mystery box. I like that name. We're going to call it a maker mystery box, because we don't know what's in the box or what we can do with what comes out of the box. So, Bridget, you've seen this before, haven't you?
Yes, very kind of the MacGyver-esque, right?
Right.
Like, here's what I have right here. How can I solve this big, huge problem with a stick of gum, and the wrapper and everything else?
Right. I mean, like one of the things you put in a box is duct tape, right? Buttons, bottle caps, old milk cartons, just things that you can really use as materials. I once had a teacher that heard me talk, and she had a little art studio at her elementary school, but didn't have a maker space. She sent a note home to all the parents in her district and said, we want to create a maker space, and here's a list of things that we're looking for. Put them in a Ziploc bag and send them into school. And she said nearly every family did it. And what's more, the parents offered to volunteer in the makerspace to help with that. So, arts and crafts, science and technology, we see these all like overlapping and intersecting in a makerspace, and they can do it home. We're going to have projects that will engage the curiosity of a young scientist. We'll also have art projects, which, like Bridget was talking about, is often just taking the opportunity to try out an idea, right? To present something about yourself or reveal something you're thinking. That is actually a really risky thing to do. And kids find a much easier time doing it than adults. So we want to challenge you as an adult to also play the game, also get involved. So Maria, do you have anything like a box of supplies and stuff at home in your house?
Yes, traveling a lot. I have I call it a portable makerspace. It's like I have a bag just so that I can pop into a hotel room and be able to fix robotics that are broken. Yeah, and so it's a brilliant idea, because what happens is everything is all self-contained. The duct tape, the glue, the paper, whatever. I was thinking about this earlier. My daughter already put toilet paper rolls, like the cardboard parts, in a purse already. She's like, this is my mystery magic maker box, So I just love, that kind of concept is a really fun take.
Yeah. At our very first Maker Faire, we had an area we called Play Day. and we actually work with an electronic parts recycler who had a lot of old computers and all kinds of parts, and we just dumped them on the floor. And kids would just go in there and start taking things apart. They'd use a screwdriver to pop the keys off an old keyboard, and they were just like, they'd be banging and taking things. They had such fun, and it scared me a little bit because they were like 3-year-olds with some of this that parents weren't watching very closely. But I remember one day I saw 2 twin boys walking out, and they had been in play day and they made something. And one said, I made a spaceship, and it was, just made out of all kinds of things. It was that tall. And the other twin said, I made a satellite station so I could communicate with the spaceship. Isn't that cool? So, it's just like kids' minds are incredible. And I really want you to think about how to put them in a frame of mind where you get that coming out of them, that they're free to ideate and to think. And, again, to iterate something that's really important. What we're seeing with makers is it's not only like some ideas just pop out of your head, but, you go online and you search what these folks are doing in the maker community to solve some of these problems. They're going and looking at other people's designs. And I wrote about a man in East Tennessee. He's a professor. He found one group that had published a design for a face shield. He, went in there and figured out it was 3D printed. He was going to adapt it to a laser cutter. It doesn't really matter, but he knew how to work with the community and find an answer and then start making. And they're making 500 face shields in a college football locker room, for a small rural community in Tennessee. So your kids are going to be able to do this. And I really want to insist that that's why this matters so much.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, go on, Bridget, go on while we're waiting. I just
said something about just like how important it is to create the space and like a space where people feel free to create in this way. Yeah. And I think we were talking about the physical space is important, right? And the tools and materials, but like finding creative ways to get your kids to like push past their comfort zone, right? And like push past the fear that stops us all from innovating, to like really put our ideas out in the world and try things. And one of the things, for example, this kind of came from one of those moments where it's like, oh, I have a feather boa and I had a glue gun, and we were at the tech and we wanted to create something. And all of a sudden we're like, we wanted to share with the world that like the idea of spectacular failures, things are going to fall apart and break, but you want to be able to jump back in and glue it back together. So just jokingly, we put the feather glue gun boa, or the glue gun without the feather first, around our neck. And we're like, it's kind of like a boa. And then we added the boa and it turned into like a bona fide. Now it's like it's the most valuable 21st century innovation tool. Like everybody needs one. So I challenge you all to kind of figure out like, what do you have around your house and what creative tools can you create that might be like totally different from feather glue boa, right?
Hey, yeah, thank you. Hey, it's awesome. We have people watching from all over the country and around the world. We have people from the United States, from Russia, welcome. Indonesia, welcome. Brazil, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And if you haven't told us, tell us where you are. I'm sure you're from a mix of big cities and small towns in the U.S. We'd like to know where you're coming from. One of David mentions in the chat, one of his favorite activities with kids is to pick up an electronic toy at a thrift store and take it apart at home. He said it's $2 for an hour of entertainment and education. That's wonderful, especially talking toys like Speak and Spells.
Yeah.
There's a whole genre of circuit bending that you can do, and it sounds awful, but you love to make it the sounds. It's really kind of fun. And the Exploratorium did a number of things. They used to call it what was it? A toy autopsy. That you'd take it apart and see how it worked. And there's actually really good parts inside of those toys that you can put in your own projects.
My school, and like the middle schoolers loved it. And every once in a while, one of the little kindergartners would walk by and I'd have the big board with the Tickle Me Elmo and all of his parts everywhere. And they're like, what did you do to Elmo?
Yeah, great.
Really excited to try.
That's great. We have Cordova, Alaska. That's wonderful. Bangkok, Thailand. Welcome. Canada, and Knoxville, Tennessee. Great to have those folks joining us tonight. So anyway, we want to make sure we give you kind of one action this time, is we'd like you to create a mystery box. It could be this big, it could be this big, it could be this tall, it could be this small, right? So just create it, decorate it, put your name on it, give your camp a name, right? Give it a name. It's not just Family Maker Camp. It's whatever, Astro Camp. I don't know, whatever come up with. Draw a picture, create a logo, choose an animal, choose a motto, right? And take a picture of 2 pictures, actually. One of the mystery box closed and one of the mystery box open. Post that on social media or on Facebook with the hashtag MakerCamp. Someone's going to probably say, you should say, hey, Family Maker Camp, either one, I don't care. Laura, welcome from New Waverly, Texas, a little town north of Houston. That's great to have you on board. And the most important thing is we want all of you to be part of this family of Family Maker Camp. We want you to share your ideas. We're still getting going. We decided to do this 2 weeks ago, and we came up with the idea of Make Together as kind of a theme that we needed for this time. And so hashtag Make Together is another one that we'd like to see you use. But even though we have to be apart as families, we can make together as a family, and we can share out. We can really hear other. And I really hear that kids are in a place where they're missing their friends. They're missing. I know my grandson, who's 6, is in kindergarten, and he has friends he misses. Another colleague of mine is, she was using Zoom as a kid, first grader, I think, and she was a beautiful picture of her talking to her classmates through Zoom. So it's a completely new world, and we're all trying to navigate it. But I think there's some things that haven't changed, and one of them is learning by doing. And we're going to keep sharing that with you and getting you involved in that. So let me ask, it's really great to have everybody here. I don't know if anybody has, Jen or Jillian, is there any questions or anything as we go, or we're at the half-hour mark? We are working on bringing people on as panelists and joining us. Please write to us. You can write me personally, dale@make.co. If you, we'd love to have families on and showcase you and talk to you. We're looking for more performers like Mario. We're looking for more people that can demo something, show us how to do a project together. All of you have projects that are your favorite kid projects. I know you do. So share them. So just write them down. They don't have, we don't criticize people. We have a spirit and ethos of generosity, and we love to have you here for that community. So I see. It says, Mario, do you have a magic trick up your sleeve? That's what I got a question of. Ellen Mick Barnett said, have you all talked about the amazing role of makers sewing protective masks? And makers are amazing. I agree with you. We have both on our blog. We talked about it a little bit tonight, but we're going to bring that into MakerCamp. If you go to this, these are more for adults and kids, but I was talking about a young woman who's a mechanical engineer. She worked at Apple in design, and she heard about the lack of face masks. Her name is Sabrina Paceman, and she wanted to study these N95 masks and the surgical masks. There are 2 different kinds of masks. There's a lot of surgical masks and there's few N95 masks. Well, she took them apart and figured out they're actually the same material. The difference is the surgical mask doesn't fit tightly against you. It's open on the sides. Well, she said, we just have to invent a seal for that. And she got a team together. They're all smart people. You know the solution they came up with? Rubber bands. That she could create a seal around the mouth connected to the ears by creating a chain of rubber bands. So, and I told her, I said, this is kid stuff. I got to have you on Family Maker Camp. You got to show us how you solve that problem using rubber bands. So, yes. And there's young people at home sewing it. So, hey, we got Mexico on, we got Morocco on. That's awesome. We're a global maker community, and we're doing family maker camp to bring that community together, have a little fun, encourage you to play at home, and share out what we're doing. So let me toss it to Mario, and we're not. If you don't have magic trick, just tease Friday for them.
Yeah. Oh man, this is so great. I feel so lucky to be here. So Friday's gonna be awesome because the theme is about flying, and I have I'm gonna do a little bit of flying, not me, but there'll be things that might fly during the class. And if you haven't heard yet, Thursday, John Collins, 2 p.m. Eastern time. I mean, John Collins is the paper airplane guru, right? We were talking about him earlier. So so it'll be really fun. And I don't want to give too much away, but I will say this, that if you can get in your mystery box some index cards, some markers, and scissors, I promise you by the end of the program, you're going to learn one of my favorite magic tricks. And what's so cool is that it's simple everyday objects. And I guarantee you haven't seen this trick yet. It's from, and I'll tease this out if you want. This book is called The Encyclopedia of Impromptu Magic by Martin Gardner. It is considered a Bible to magicians. And I don't share this often, but it is from this book. And you'll see more about it on Friday.
Hey, I have a couple quick questions before we wrap. Bridget, I'm going to throw this to you. How to keep kids interested?
Okay, so
keep them engaged.
So what's amazing with maker education is that like the kids, once they get engaged, they kind of keep themselves interested. So I think rather than as a parent thinking that there's so much you have to do or you have to know and it has to go just right so your kids can learn and have fun and stay engaged, I think it's just setting the starting conditions for them and some of the mindsets, like I was saying. Dale mentioned like a great way to start is kind of building an identity and a community within your team. What's so exciting is like from doing MakerCamp, where there was MakerCamp all over the world in these different places. Now this is happening, but each home, right, is your own MakerCamp. So really coming up with like, a spirit animal or doing some fun, engaging things that kind of get the dynamics going and allow you to be playful. Dale, you also mentioned how much everybody's craving like connections. We don't get to see our friends. So I think it's so important that we don't just get to see your maker box with the cool things. Maybe there's some special supplies in there that are very unique to your family. Like I know mine would have some Smurfs in it or something random, right? Or something that I love. So like showing your personality and actually like sharing about you. So maybe you put together like a skit, a song, a video. Yeah. Like there's so many ways to kind of share yourself with this and connect.
Yeah. The other thing is just trust the kids. You'll see it. They actually get engaged. The simplest way is throw a bunch of cardboard, paper, couple scissors, and some pens on the table, and just say, let's sit down and do something. What do you want to do? And the magic for me, because we didn't start off thinking this was for kids when we started Maker Faire, but we saw the kids come and they're like, "Ooh, wow!" I got like, we got to get more kids making because they love it. So I really think that's the truth. They love it.
Yeah, and letting the kids teach you. Also, I learned to solder at Maker Faire from like a 10-year-old, and it blew my mind. It was amazing. And so like your kids are going to learn things if you just kind of let them go. And sometimes maybe you're doing your work thing and they're engaged with their maker project, but sometimes you might want to sit down and rather than feeling like you have to do anything to like push their learning forward, maybe let them push your learning forward and they can show you some cool things. And the more they see you in that learner seat going through the joys of making, but also the frustrations that come, like the whole process, right? That's really going to help model for them how they can be like positive and collaborative through that. Right. So let yourself be the learner too, right?
Yeah. So another question came in here. I'll throw this to Mario. How do you help kids get over perfectionism? We got to make mistakes. Right?
Yeah. Well, Dale, you've seen me perform. I love failure. So I'm always the grown-up that messes up during the magic show and the kids point it out, and it's a powerful tool for me because kids are constantly told what to do, and so seeing the grown-up be the fool, is a liberating thing, and anyway, but for me, it's like my daughter wants to play guitar, and so we did our first lesson and she got really upset because she couldn't play the song. She could barely get a chord, and it's this thing that constantly happens with everything during the elementary age where you want to do something, but you want it to be mastered the day that you start learning it, you know? And so we take baby steps, you know? We just take baby steps. And instead of learning the G chord, we learned how to play the G chord with just pressing one finger down on one chord, you know? So when you strum all the chords, it's not a perfect G chord, but it is a G chord. So what happened the next day? We did the E chord with just 2 fingers. And now she learned 2 chords. And she was in her room last week writing a song with Bear, with my son, like a silly song about poop, you know? I don't know. It was like ridiculous, you know? And but you understand what I'm saying? It was like I have to have flexibility with the perfectionism. Like we're not gonna learn the exact G chord because right now it's important just to get that learned by doing, like you're talking about. That's a powerful theme, you know?
Yeah. And again, you know, think about sports and music. You know, they didn't learn to play baseball in one season or one game or one practice. Same with music, you know, but you know, I think the secret we're saying, the more that they're driving it, you know, it's like someone like shooting baskets in the backyard because they want to get good as a basketball player. That's what you want to see, not forcing them to do, but them realizing that's what they enjoy. So perfection, here's another one, either Mario or Bridget. How do you encourage parents that think they don't know enough about technology to engage their kids as makers?
Go ahead, Bridget.
Take that.
Well, I think first of all, as I was kind of saying before, let your kids show you a few things that they already know so you can kind of build from there. If you want to learn specific things, you're like, oh, I need skill X, Y, or Z, you can. I tell you, there will be makers all over the world and probably some kids online that can show you a little video or something, right? So you can kind of see what other people are doing. But I think also letting yourself get into the learner seat again. Let's say you want to learn how to code, and let's say your son or daughter is doing Scratch at school. Like you can get in there and you guys can come up with maybe a Scratch animation that captures your MakerCamp's personality, right? And it can have all these digital elements. And in order to actually do the project you're trying to do and get it across, you're going to have to learn all the different code bits along the way. And so some things your child might throw in there, some things you might have to like Google, you'll kind of figure it out together.
Yeah. Mario?
Yeah, that's exact. I mean, Dale, we were talking earlier, you brought up something about how you want to find a dancer that can teach code, you know? And you were talking about how like, if, you know, every element possible to create learning, you know? So like, I loved that principle of this person teaching a dance move and then stopping and then the kids repeating and learning, hey, that's like a loop of code when you use Scratch. We're doing the same thing with physical movement. I mean, that's beautiful. Like that's what it is. That's what innovation is to me, is mixing ideas that have never been mixed before. That's what Maker Faire is. That's what Make is. It's like thinking outside of the box, you know? So that kind of creative elements helps me during the homeschool week, you know, like.
Yeah. And, you know, another thing I'd say is even with your kids, don't focus on what you don't know. Focus on what you do know and what you can do. Everybody can do stuff, right? It's just, you do all kinds of things. And, you know, we talk about it in the magazine and other things. There's kind of low tech and high tech. You know, cooking might be considered high tech and low tech, but, you know, crafting, knitting, there's all kinds of ways of making things. And it actually is all technology. Right? You're taking raw materials, you're using tools and processes to transform it into some finished thing. That could be a pie, it could be a robot, right? Mm-hmm. So you actually know a lot about this. And the rest is just instructions, right? It's just finding them. And it's like, you know, with a good cookbook, you can cook anything, but it's kind of getting over the level of where like, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. You know, just try it and you get better. Just try it. And the other thing, honestly, is, you know, we never want to hold our kids to only knowing what we know, right? So there is an internet with an amazing amount of information. Our kids are learning through YouTube. They don't need a neighbor. They don't actually need you to show them how to do Arduino. There's 100 places to learn. Now we'll send out some suggested ways. There's some better than others, maybe, but we have access online to such great resources that these kids, once they get, what we're trying to do is that spark is really about their motivation. when they realize they can move at their own pace as fast as they can and follow their own interests, and that they're under their own control to do that, they learn more rapidly than they would ever learn in school. And that's your challenge, is to figure out how to ignite that passion in them.
Yeah.
So
Dale, I just can't help myself when you said you can make pie or a robot. So I happen to be putting myself in the learner seat this week. And I took with CoJoy a fun workshop where we actually, it's part of building a robot, but we were using the concept of pie, not edible pie, but learning about circles and degrees to kind of program in different expressions and emotions into the robot. So all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's 60 degrees. I'm like, I'm happy. I'm a little happy. I want to get angry. I need to program it to go to like 120, and then here we go 180. It just goes crazy. So
yeah,
like,
isn't that fun?
You're actually using technology to build the motors and such.
Yeah, and when I think when I was growing up is I had to get a book, to go to the library and get a book to find magic tricks or find craft projects or learn how to make pickles or things like that. But internet, you can, you have a door to everything in the world. So it's just knowing what you want and being motivated to do that. Well, listen, I got a shout out for pickles there. I think it's one of those comic words. There's like an old movie that like the Sunshine Brothers or something, like pickles is a funny word, but at any rate, I digress. I think we'll wrap up today. Yes, Bridget.
I challenge you to design pickles into some of your MakerCamp projects.
Yes, or anything that's fermented, which is this happy hour. It could be beverage, right?
Could I share something to the parents really quickly?
All right. Well, wait a minute. David is coming on. We're going to have our first panelist, our first guest family member panelist. So I'm told to wait. So go, Bridget, while we fill time here.
Okay, well, I was just going to say that Dale mentioned the playbook, but also we have never been, all of us, ever in our lifetimes in maker projects like we are right now. So like together, we're going to create the playbook, right? So some of you are going to come up with cool innovations. And I think the more you share that, the more we can leverage it. Like this celebrating failure and things like that. Like some people will put like a poster on the wall and they'll share kind of and visually kind of track and celebrate. Some people at the end of dinner, they'll talk about their wins for the day, but like, what was your biggest failure and how did you get through it? And then start brainstorming ideas to help each other.
And that, the thing that we say in the maker community is just failure is part of the story. I was watching Mario the other day and I loved it. He had this little slider flower thing, and my 6-year-old grandson had made it, and I visited him, and he was showing me how he could control it, and I was just so proud of it. But you said it isn't just that. You have to make a routine. You have to present it, and when you were presenting on it didn't work. Darn, it didn't work, and you'd look away and it worked, and then you'd look back and it didn't work. And it's just like that's human nature, is sort of. We connect to each other over our failures in a way, not just boasting about how great we are, but just being human. And that's what making really is.
Yeah.
So, all right. How can I make sure that David can talk? I don't see David.
Can you hear me?
Yes, David. Hello.
Hey.
Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good.
Introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Yeah, David Rezegui. I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Great.
Yeah. Known Mario for a while now. We actually met at a maker fair.
Awesome. Which one? In New York?
Was it New York, Mario? I think it was, right? Yeah, New York. Yeah, New York.
Yeah, that was years ago, David. I'm old, man. That was a long time ago. Huh?
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay, David, tell us something about your family.
Well, we have 4 kids.
Wow.
Ages 12, 9, 6, and 5. So yeah, I was the one talking earlier about going to the thrift store and picking up different types of electronic toys, and we've loved that. I will let each kid pick out a toy that interested them in some way, and we'd come home and I'd give them a screwdriver and scissors or whatever it was, and they'd just start taking it apart, and they might go, "Hey, Dad, what does this do?" And I don't know. Let's figure it out. Let's experiment. We'd touch this wire to that wire and see what it does. And, we would, it's been about an hour or so, just having fun and goofing off. And trying out new things. And at the end, I would, pick out any parts that I thought I could salvage from my workshop. Sometimes the motors and servos and things are cheaper in the toys and you can buy them by themselves. And so we'd put them in a box and, we keep it for the next project we'd do together. So
that's great. That's great. That's another phrase. Maybe we'll do a session, the next one, trial and error. That is how we as humans have learned for millions of years or whatever length of time that is. But one of the important things actually with kids is don't give them the answer. You want them to discover the answer, not even though you know it. In that case, sometimes that's the smart parent, the engineer parent thinks they know everything, and the kid isn't learning because they're just in control, right? They're guiding the work, they're solving all the problems. What's the learning going on there? None. So you learn from failure, you learn from frustration, you learn from trial and error, and so we really want to encourage that. David, are you going to be able to tonight or in the future share a project that apart from this? Actually, you could share that one with us, is maybe give us some more details for parents that have never done toy dissection like you have with your kids. So we'd love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, definitely. I can put something together for that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, we are past 45 minutes here. I'm not sure how long this should go, but we'd love to hear back from you. I'm Dale at make.co. If you're just coming in at the end, you can find a recorded version of this online, and we're going to be doing it every week at the same time. If Russia and Thailand need different times, by God, we'll make it happen. So let us know. But we're really happy to have you here at Family Maker Camp. Visit our Facebook group and join it, and register online at makercamp.com because you'll get special invites to be part of the Zoom thing. We're sending out some of our book excerpts with project ideas, get to you by email at least once a week. So come to makercamp.com and register. We really want to know more about you because this is why we do it. If we had just the four of us talking, that would be great, but we'd stop doing that after a while. We really want to know that this matters to you, that it makes a difference for you. And we want to know what you need to be successful as a parent, engaging your kids in hands-on learning and experiencing the joy of making it home. So until next time, I'm Dale Doherty. This is Bridget Rigby and Mario the Maker Magician, who will be back on Friday for Family Maker Camp. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.
You never quite know when it ends, so.